I'm literally talking to you.
Yeah.
So if that guy's in a
inbox.
fight with his wife in the morning, he's pissed off, you just interrupted him. If you ever call me again. And so like, we're like face to face with our prospects, good, bad, and ugly.
Yes.
And despite all of the power and impact we can make, like you're close to that emotion. And when you get somebody else's negative emotion, it can really kind of hold you back. Welcome to the Takeover with Tim and Cindy, where we show you how to dominate every area of life and business. Let's get winning. Welcome to the Takeover with Tim and Cindy. Today, we're going to go over why your company absolutely needs outbound marketing, what it is, the myths around it, and how you can start implementing it today in your business to grow your revenue and your clients. Now, as we go through today's episode, I want you to answer and think of one question, and that is, why do you think that if you were to go sell your company, you will get more valuation by far, you will get more money for your company by far if you have good outbound systems in place versus any other marketing channel? So as we go through today's episode, keep that question in mind, and we'll go ahead and get right into it. So Cindy, maybe walk through just a little story on outbound marketing and like what, how it really helped us.
Yes, for sure. So outbound marketing helped us scale to our first 7 figures in revenue without running ads. And what I love about outbound as the person that does operations and finance for our team is it's the most profitable avenue for marketing. So that allows you, as you're spending money on marketing, getting clients in the door, it allows you to allocate more money towards building and scaling your team, right? And investing in talent, which is why I'm such a big advocate for outbound marketing, because we've seen firsthand the results that it got for us and our team as we were scaling.
Big time. And it allows you to kind of like prove out your marketing and sales processes, being like spending all this money on ads and all this weight to it because of the low ongoing cost.
Absolutely.
It really allows you to refine your systems before you do other marketing channels.
Yes, for sure.
Now, what is outbound marketing? Because probably some people watching this know exactly what we're talking about. Others, they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. I just want more customers for my business.
Yeah. So I think about outbound as going out and telling people about your product or service instead of waiting for them to come to you. So a very simple example is a lemonade stand. So you start a lemonade stand in your neighborhood, and there's 2 ways you can kind of go with it. One, you could sit at your lemonade stand and wait for people to walk past, learn more about your lemonade, purchase if they want to. Outbound, however, is you going out and telling people that you're selling amazing lemonade. So you're knocking on doors, telling people about your lemonade, and you're actually reaching more people in the neighborhood versus waiting for the people that are just going to walk past, right? Will everybody purchase your lemonade that you knock on their door? Not really, not necessarily. However, will more people purchase your lemonade than if you were sitting waiting for people to come to you? Absolutely. So that's outbound marketing in a nutshell. It's you going out and telling people about your product or service, telling people that you exist, how you can help them solve a need or a problem that they have, and then selling them on your solution versus inbound, which is you're waiting for people to come to you.
And I think on that, one thing that's kind of interesting is total addressable market, or TAM, is, people talk about in the, sophisticated business language, TAM, like, meaning everybody out there that could benefit from your lemonade, from your service. If you are like, well, I just want to have warm this and just people that come my way, that is proven to be about 5% of the market you'll reach.
Sometimes even less.
Less, really.
Sometimes even less. It's such a tiny percentage. If you think about where you are now, any business owner, how many people know about your business compared to how many people can actually utilize your service? I mean, it's such a stark contrast, right? And often people are only tapping into such a small part of their total addressable market. So back to what you were saying, it's a very, very small percentage, oftentimes less than 5% of the people you're actually reaching right now, people that know about your service.
And sometimes people don't even know that they need what you have.
Yes.
So if you think about, maybe think in your mind right now, everybody that could benefit from what your company does, what your offering is. Now, it might be a lot of people. It might not be. I know for us, it's a ton of people. Yep. Now, are all of those people totally aware that what you offer is what they need, and they're actively out there looking for and searching for it? No, very small percentage. So the lemonade example is, there might be people that would love to buy some lemonade. They're not even thinking about lemonade. They're not going like, I need lemonade. Like I'm thirsty. I'm going to go get some water. But if knock, you're on that door knocking, like, hey, I've got some delicious lemonade. Oh, I don't do sugar. It's okay, because I got some Zevia lemonade.
Yeah.
I got a couple options for you, right?
Yeah.
Like, you are going to reach so much more. And so whether your goal is to just make a ton of money, make a ton of impact, whatever that is, for us, it's both. We want to make a lot of impact. We want to make a lot of money. We want to build legacy. We want our employees to build legacy. We want to help so many clients. You cannot do that waiting for people to come to your lemonade stand.
No. Yeah, I think there's a very common misconception when you're running and starting a business, that you have to build a website, you have to have a fancy logo, you have to do all the design work. And once you put that up, like, people are going to come, you're going to have customers flooding in. But that's not the reality of entrepreneurship and running a business. People don't know about you. And because they don't know about you, they don't know your product and service exists, they can't buy from you, which is why so many entrepreneurs are stuck in that kind of feast and famine cycle, because they don't have consistent lead flow or sales coming in. And then we look at the complete opposite side of the spectrum, where we're looking at larger corporations. We've worked with a lot of large companies that have never done any kind of outbound marketing before. They're spending so much money to acquire clients that is decreasing their profitability, right? And so on both sides of the spectrum, whether you're just starting out or you're a really large company already doing millions in revenue, there is opportunity for you in outbound. Because no matter how big of a company you are, there's still people that don't know you. There's still opportunity for you to scale into and take up more market share, a bigger piece of the pie of your total addressable market.
People might not know. It's like, it's the lemonade stand, but what does that practically look like? Yeah,
practical, for sure. Yeah. So practical, how we do outbound marketing is we will do cold email, for example. So it's essentially, you have a target list of people that you want to reach out to, that you know would benefit from your product or service. You craft compelling messaging that's going to hit on the pain points and the desires of this ideal client, paint the picture as to why your service is what they need, and then you get on a call with them and you sell. So outbound marketing is that process of reaching out to people who don't yet know about your product or service, using platforms or avenues like cold email, LinkedIn. We do a lot of that, cold calling. You're reaching out to people who don't know you and then pitching for them to get on a call with you, or some people even pitch directly for them to purchase the service or the product outright. So it's that simple process of reaching out to people who don't know you just yet, using an avenue like cold email, LinkedIn, cold DMs on social media. People do a lot, cold calling, etc.
What are some myths about that? Because, what's so interesting is a lot of people, they think about a marketing avenue. Like once they go, okay, I'm thinking about getting more clients, they start putting on their hat of like, what would I respond to? What would I not respond to? And the reality is not what we like or do or don't respond to. It's what the data says.
Yeah.
We're a very data-driven company. Like what does the numbers say? Because that's, you can't hide behind data, right? So there is a lot of myths. There's like, oh, I would never respond to a message on LinkedIn. I would never respond to an ad. I would never do, like, all these things I would never do. And the reality is, I know for me, is I don't think I've ever responded to a cold Instagram, LinkedIn, cold call, email. Yet We have made companies millions and millions and millions of dollars and made us millions and millions and millions of dollars using those 4 channels and beyond. So what are some of those myths, maybe kind of beyond just what I spoke about and what I spoke about? Like, what are some of those myths that a lot of people think that just isn't true about outbound?
It's exactly what you said. People try to create outbound strategies around what they would respond to versus what their ideal client would respond to. So a lot of what we do at our company is we're very focused on data, as you mentioned. We're very focused on demographics, psychographics. What are the pain points, frustrations, hopes, and desires of the ideal client, and not on us, right? It doesn't matter if we would respond to a message or not. It doesn't matter if you would respond to a message or not. Would your ideal client respond to that message? And what makes outbound so powerful is when you are able to speak directly to those pain points and desires, right? And so the misconception or the myth around outbound is I'd never respond to that kind of message, so probably doesn't work. But if you focus on that, you'll never tap into the possibility of what outbound can really do for your business. You'll stay stuck. So the perspective shift around that is not what you would or would not respond to. It's what would your ideal client respond to.
And what's interesting working with the sales team, it's not even what you would or wouldn't respond to. It's a lot of times that's what you think you would or wouldn't respond to.
But you do.
Because we're working with the sales team a lot. It's not uncommon for the meetings that we got through cold email, through cold call, through cold DMs, right? That are like, I don't know, I would never respond to these messages. And you go, well, what made you respond to the message? Well, yours sounded different. It looked different. It felt different.
Yes.
So there is a lot of, I don't want to sound like that. I don't want to look like that. And therefore, people kind of just eliminate it from their activities. But what is so funny is not only does the data prove it works incredibly well, the same people that say, I never respond to these, literally are the reason why they're on a call with their sales team. And then when we go, well, why did you respond? And the answer is because it looked different. It felt different. It felt authentic.
Yes. I think it's really powerful is when you see an ad and you feel like they're speaking directly to me. And that's what gets you to take action. And the power of that is really good copywriting, really compelling messaging that is getting people to say yes to a call because it feels like you're speaking directly to them. I'm almost 1,000% sure that everybody that's listening to this right now has received horrible messaging that just sucks. Most messaging out there is really bad. Most cold pitches that you receive are really bad. However, done correctly, you can see exceptional results. And that's why we get awesome results with cold calling, cold emailing, cold DMs, because we know how to write compelling messaging that gets people to say yes. And how much more can you stand out in the market if you have those things dialed in?
You know, I was thinking, like, I always use this example, like you only notice the bad plastic surgeries. Like, you only notice the bad lip jobs, the bad bolt-ons. You never notice the good ones. You're never like, I mean, you notice them, but it's not like, oh, that is plastic surgery. You only notice the bad ones. So a lot of times you only notice the bad ones. And it's like when we're reaching out and say, well, it resonated with me. And that's because it was speaking to, like you said, that what's that thing keeping them up at night?
Yeah.
You know, because I think another myth is that, well, if I'm going to do outbound, I want to like be very friendly, very networky, very like, hey, let's be pen pals, like through email. And like, you're just,
pen pals.
you know what I mean? Like, hey, like, how's the weather where you're at? Like, and you know, it's like, okay, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want? You know,
why are you in my DMs?
The higher level, the decision maker, I mean, sure, if you have people that have time to waste and they just want to make friends, oh, somebody's messaged me, let me talk. But like, if you want to stop somebody in their tracks, they're dealing with a million fires, got a million things going on. You got to speak specifically. You got to enter the conversation that's happening in their head, like about the problem that they have, that thing that's keeping them up at night, eyes staring at the ceiling. Hello, we all have those things that have kept us up at night. What is that thing keeping your prospect up at night? They cannot sleep. And then if we can speak to that, we can enter the world as that they're in, the conversation already happening in their head, and saying, hey, if I could help with this, would it be worth a few minutes of your time? No, that's simplified, right? That's what stops the whole, hey, I see that you went to X and X school and you do this. Would love to network and talk.
For sure.
Doesn't work.
It doesn't work. Yeah. And it's what is the intention of you sending out that message? It's because you want the prospect to take a certain action. And most times it's get on the call with our team so we can show you how we can help you. And the more direct, very straight to the point type messaging or outbound approach performs way better. And we have data to prove that. But
it's a lot more integrity. You're not lying about your intention.
Yeah. Very good point.
So yeah, I think a lot of people are just scared because they don't want to be rejected. And when you're knocking on a door to sell lemonade, it's very easy to get rejected.
Yes.
When you're sitting on the corner to sell lemonade, you might see cars pass you by. They probably didn't see me.
Yeah. I'm good.
And people don't want to admit this, but it really does come down to fear of rejection.
Yes. The reason most people do not get started with outbound marketing is because of the fear of rejection. Absolutely. 100%.
What are some, because I know for a fact that is the number one reason. I don't like getting rejected. I don't like the way it feels. The closer you get to a prospect knocking on their door, in their inbox, in their DM, the more you're going to get a response for them. Whereas I put up a billboard, there might be 1 million people that walk by, laugh at that. Maybe somebody scribbles like the devil, horns on it and all that. I'm detached from that, right? Maybe a little closer, your PPC. No one can interact with your Google ads. No one can interact with your SEO. Now I maybe start doing some Facebook ads. People can comment in there. So we're getting closer. Now when we do outbound, I'm literally talking to you.
Yeah.
So if that guy's in a fight with his wife in the morning, he's pissed off. You just interrupted him. If you ever call me again. And so we're face to face with our prospects, good, bad, and ugly.
Yes.
And despite all of the power and impact we can make, you're close to that emotion. And when you get somebody else's negative emotion, it can really kind of hold you back.
Yes, we've had this before where clients are like, stop my campaigns. Somebody sent a really negative message. Stop everything. And it's like you mentioned, you're so close to that rejection. If somebody says, no, I'm not interested, or stop spamming me, or, this is a horrible message, I get out my inbox, it's knowing that that's going to happen. That's part of the game. As you mentioned, any other type of marketing, you're not receiving that feedback directly.
Right.
Are people rejecting you? Yes. Is it as direct as if you're in somebody's messaging? No. So you have to think about, is the impact that you want to make greater than the small rejections that you're going to get along the way? If you're truly trying to tap into your total addressable market, you truly want to scale beyond where you are right now, are you willing to face some of that rejection? And what I love about outbound is the feedback is amazing. People will tell you exactly what's wrong with your messaging. If you're getting a lot of no's and getting no leads, you can refine that. It's immediate feedback,
very quickly.
Right? And so you can actually utilize that to your advantage versus seeing it as, oh, this isn't working for me. I don't want the rejection.
Yeah.
Let's retreat, stop the messaging, all of that.
You know what's interesting? I was just thinking about clients we've worked with, whether they're doing, 5 million a month, they're doing 500 million a year, they got 1,000 reps, or they're doing, $100,000 a month. When you look at people that are doing, 100,000, 200,000 a month, 1 million a month, 5 million a month, 500 million a year, they're not concerned about that.
They don't care.
What they're mostly concerned about is the impact, their mission, people they can help. Whereas the only time you kind of hear that is maybe somebody, even if they're doing pretty good revenue, they haven't tapped into outbound.
Yeah.
But we hear that a lot from entrepreneurs that have not created a consistent, maybe they're stuck below 100K a month.
Yeah.
They're stuck. They can't quite break through. They've been relying on referrals their whole life. Which is not a business. It's a glorified job if you're relying on referrals.
Yes.
Because referrals is not a machine you can now we love referrals. I've never seen somebody that's truly passionate about actually reaching their goal ever worry about that?
No, never. People are very focused on their reputation, right? They say, oh, stop the messaging. Like, I don't want to be spammy. I don't want to reach out in people's inboxes if they don't know me because of my reputation. The reality is it's such a small percentage of people that know you. Your reputation does not matter in this case if you don't have consistent revenue and consistent clients. Your reputation's another thing. What you need to be focused on is how do you get more clients?
There's 8 billion people on the planet.
People don't know you.
Just because one person got in a fight with their wife this morning and was like, F off, hey, like, just stop it, And I've seen some like slightly bigger companies have that same worry. If they were reliant on referrals, they're a big referral network and they're trying to transition. And so the big difference is your emotional driver for like, what is the impact I want to make? How important are those people that don't know you? Remember, if at most 5% of your total addressable market is going to come to you, right? You could build a, whatever business on that. You can build a healthy, fine little business. But if 100% are out there, you have to have, if you're serious about the mission, the impact you want to make for your clients, for your teammates, for your company, for your family, for you, if you want to build a legacy, if you want to build wealth, like we want to build massive wealth.
Yeah.
Because we want to build it. We want to build, we feel like this life is very short and we want to just go as far as we possibly can. Like, you're not going to do that on that 5%. And so the emotional driver for your mission, your vision, your values, where you want to go in life has to outweigh the emotional driver of rejection. And you have to label rejection, not reputation, not these million other things. The reality is it's rejection. So is the emotion of rejection more powerful? Will it get you to stop on your mission and justify it by saying things like reputation, by saying I don't want to be perceived like that, by saying these things? Or are you going to allow the emotion and the desire to reach the most amount of impact that you can in your company, in your family, for your employees, for your clients? Is that going to be a bigger driver? Because the multi-billion-dollar companies use outbound as the most effective channel. Remember the question we asked earlier on in this call was, why would, if an investor were to buy your company, somebody would buy your company, why would outbound give you more valuation than any other channel? And it's because of these reasons.
Yes. It's like you can have success or you can please everybody, but you can't have both. So at the end of the day, you have to choose.
Yeah. So we kind of see some of the benefits, the total addressable markets, if you go sell your company, the valuation, but in some profitability, some different pieces. Like, let's really dig into why outbound. Like, what are some of the benefits of outbound, maybe compared to some of the other channels?
For sure. It's predictable. One of the most important things when you are growing and scaling a business is predictable revenue, predictable clients. You have to know where your next client is going to come from ultimately. And outbound marketing gives you that predictability. I can know that if I reach out to 100 people and I get one client out of that, it's very predictable and calculated. It's a numbers game. I can reach out to 1,000 people and get 10. Right. And so at the end of the day, it's a numbers game. It's very predictable. And if you are growing and scaling, you need predictability. The biggest reason people come to us to help with their outbound marketing is that they don't know where their next client is coming from, or they want more predictability of where their next client is coming from if they're larger and they're scaling, right? And so having the power to predict how to get your next client, how to grow, how to scale is truly powerful, which some other marketing channels just don't give you. And then it comes down to scalability, right? If I know, again, 100 reach outs gives me one client or one sale, I can then predict my scalability. If I want to grow a sales team and I really want to expand, I have to calculate or reverse engineer how many reach outs do I need to do? How many messages do we need to do to fill our reps' calendars, right? How many sales do we need to do to hit our revenue goals? I love outbound because it's so scalable. And we spoke about that total addressable market. Maybe I tap into 5%, and then I tap into 10%, and then 20%. You have a very clear route to scalability if you are using this type of marketing versus waiting for people to come to you. a lot of us do not have the benefit of having a large established brand with major followings that we could just post on social media and people start coming to us. The reality is a lot of people do not have that type of social presence or the following to do it. And so outbound marketing is that very low barrier to entry for anybody to get started on. And I could send somebody a message today. Within minutes, they can respond. Within minutes, I can get them on a call and have a potential sale. It's that quick. The barrier to entry is so low and it levels the playing field. I could be sending out as many messages as a large company that is also doing outbound. We don't have to have the same major brand or major following. We're on the same playing field because it has that really low barrier to entry.
Yeah. And it's so profitable.
Yes.
But when executed well, your client acquisition cost is low. Now, there is, for scalability, you have to have the right data.
For sure.
Right? So there is, I mean, a lot of the tools out there they're not going to get you that mass data. But if you can tap into the right data, like we have access to over 500 million contacts on the planet. When you start getting really good at getting the right data, now you can tap into it. So it's like you were saying before, like if I talk to 100 people and I got one meeting, I talk to 1,000, I get 10 meeting. Well, now what starts happening when you talk to 100,000 people?
Data.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
What, 1 million people. So this is why when we look profitability, we look scalability, we look at like speed to results.
Yep.
Because when we're waiting for people to come to us, we're waiting for them to come to us. And guess what? When they're coming to us, they're probably coming to multiple other people.
Yes.
Whereas when we reach out, we might interrupt them. We might be the only ones that they're talking to. Not in all cases, but that can happen. So speed to result, scalability. This is why whether it's a startup with no funding and they're trying to get, like Airbnb, for instance, they used outbound specifically through Craigslist. They scraped Craigslist for all the listings, and then they outbound messaged them, hey, put your listings on our platform. That allowed Airbnb to get the initial user base that they needed to then go get funding. You would not know about Airbnb if it was not for outbound.
Yes, absolutely.
Salesforce used outbound to scale past $100 million ARR into the buildings. You would not know Salesforce is the mighty force it is if it were not for outbound.
Yes.
In fact, even LinkedIn used outbound to get their first million user base. If it was not for outbound, you either would not know about these companies at all, or they would be small little companies. They wouldn't be these big behemoths that you know them to be. So whether it is a startup with low money, low budget, they don't have funding yet, or it is a $1 billion business, they all leverage outbound to grow and to scale a business. So what I'm curious about, and I'd love to ask you, is why is it, knowing that to be true, it's like this big secret hidden in the open.
Yes.
Knowing that to be true, why do you think so many people are confused about, I've got to do 1 million posts and I've got to do this and I've got to try that and then I've got to do another auto webinar. Like they got to, there's all these things they think they got to try, when all you got to do is, the saying, success leaves clues. You look at these successful businesses, why an investor gives you more for your company. It's not because you have an auto webinar. It's not because you're running Facebook ads, which we love running Facebook ads. We do that as well. But it's not because of all these things. It's going to be because you're outbound marketing. So why is there all this confusion for so many companies on where to invest and double down on their marketing and sales?
So good. Yeah. Great question. One, it goes back to the rejection that we spoke about. If people know about outbound marketing, they've potentially tried it before and gotten some sort of rejection that's caused them to stop. So it's going into it. If you are going to tap into the power of outbound, which highly recommend that you do, you have to get over the rejection. You have to, as you were mentioning, the impact that you want to make, your income goals, your revenue goals, your team goals, has to be bigger than the fear of rejection. That's number one. Second, there's so much information out there on the internet, so many different courses you can take, so many YouTube videos that will tell you different ways to market and sell your business. Outbound, there are people that talk about it, but I think not as much. A lot of people will hire lead gen agencies, marketing agencies to try and get revenue up, to try and build their client base. But a lot of them fail. A lot of them do not have either the data points or just the experience enough to produce outbound marketing that works. So people might have tried it and gotten burned. We hear that a lot with the clients that we speak to. Tried a lead gen agency, it didn't work. Tried cold emailing, it didn't work. Tried LinkedIn, it didn't work. We hear it so much. So I think people are jaded with lead gen agencies and marketing agencies promising them the world and delivering zero over and over and over again. So I think when
it's not the channel, it's the execution.
It's the execution. Absolutely. And some people have tried it on their own, right? Probably watched a YouTube video. Okay, send 100 reach outs to somebody and then, see what you get back, or you're going to book however many calls. They try it. Probably either they're not reaching out to the right people or their messaging sucks. They don't get the results.
Just to be straightforward. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's like, I think what's really important to ask yourself when you're just as an entrepreneur, and this can apply to a lot of areas of your life, your business, it's just because you failed at a strategy, an idea, an attempt, doesn't mean it's not valid.
Yes.
Right? The question you have to ask is, if we know it to be true that plenty of businesses, billion-dollar businesses, companies that had no funding and start up and are now multi-billion-dollar businesses, as we talked about with like Airbnb, right? These college kids used Outbound to build this company, and their list goes on and on and on. Investors will give you more money. If we know that to be true, and the question is not whether or not it works, the question is why weren't you able to get it to work?
Yes. So good.
And that's, you have to be able to ask that of every area as a leader. Man, if you're having trouble building a sales team, the question is not, do sales teams work or not work? They work. The question is, why weren't you able to get your sales team to work?
Yes.
If you're having trouble hiring and training great employees, the question is not whether there are great employees out there. There's lots of great ones, right? The question is, why weren't you able to attract them? Why weren't you able to lead them? And I think that the same is true for Outbound, very much so. Is not whether it works or doesn't work. The question, if you've had trouble with it in your business, the question is, why haven't you been able to get this to work versus discarding the channel? I think that this is true of any marketing channel.
Absolutely. Yes. 1,000%.
We always want to make sure people walk away with something actionable, something tangible to make their lives better. So there might be some people going, this is awesome. I'm fired up, totally bought in. I got it. I want to do Outbound. How do I do it?
Where do I start?
Where do I start?
Yes. So it's pretty simple. The baseline of it, you need 3 things. 1, you need a list of people that you want to reach out to, and you pick the channel where your clients or your prospects are most active. So whether it's email, everybody's really in email. So you could pick that as like the easiest way to get started, potentially on LinkedIn. You can do Instagram, you could do cold calling. You have to pick a platform and a channel where your ideal client lives, or you create a targeted list of prospects that you want to reach out to. Second, you need good outbound copy. Nothing is more powerful than a good message, as we were speaking about, that will make a prospect stop in their tracks, read your message, and feel like they are speaking directly to me. I want to say yes to whatever they're pitching because it really hits home with your prospects. So messaging, copy, outbound messaging, that's the most critical part of why outbound either fails or it succeeds. So you need really good messaging. Potentially you have teammates internally that can help you with that. There's plenty of freelancers as well that you can hire to produce really good copy. And then third, you need a way to convert those people that say yes to your offer or say yes to a call into paying clients. For us and our clients, it looks like getting on a call to sell the service. So we have a sales team that will do that. And it may look differently for your company as well. But those 3 things, a targeted list, really good messaging, and a way to convert them.
Yeah, and I think just being more on the sales side of all this, when you think about a really good bonus I just want to give people here is, when you think about reaching out to a person and saying, and you're speaking directly to that thing, keeping them up at night, stressed out, I can help you with this. They're responding. If you're using a direct message, not the virtual coffee thing, so it's pretty popular in the lead gen space right now, just to get the number of meetings, like just to set up virtual coffees and networking.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to get a meeting, but it's not a client acquisition system. It's a
context.
Network, And so when we're doing a direct message, not only do you get better response, but you actually get higher intent meetings. However, just because this person raised their hand and said, Cindy, I need to talk to you about your outbound meeting services, does not mean that all of a sudden now they are warm, they trust you, they like you. So if you are used to having people that have read your book or have read your content, or they know somebody that you've worked with, whatever that other channel that you're coming in from, just remember it's a human being.
Yes.
These are not leads. These are not meetings. These are human beings that have fears. They want this problem solved, but they need to trust that you can do it. They need to have confidence you can do it. And so there becomes, when we're doing outbound, there becomes this thing that has to happen between when we actually get the interest to when we actually have that call or ask them if we're running a fully automated online funnel where we're going to sell things to them on our website.
Yeah.
There has to be some process in we're grabbing micro commitments along the way. Maybe asking them a few questions on an application. They fill that out. Now we get them to book. That's a commitment. Then we go, hey, before you get on this call, we've got this 2-minute video to watch. Which we want to do micro commitments after the fact, that if we can get them to do a little thing and then another little thing and then another little thing and then maybe send them a case study, we don't want to try to throw everything all at once. We want to give them these little micro things along the way so that by the time we get on the call with them, they've had, 4, 5, 6, 7 touches with us. Those have been good experiences, and we can get them warmed up. And you need a good sales process that also builds trust. But just understanding there's a bridge of trust that has to be built for outbound. And if you can execute that effectively, outbound will actually convert better than inbound. But if you try to treat your outbound meetings like your inbound meetings and you don't create those bridges of trust, then you're actually going to not convert it. You're going to get the meetings and you're going to go, oh, outbound doesn't work. It's cold.
Yes.
And that's just because it's not because outbound's cold. It's because you didn't have a proper outbound sales process to convert that kind of traffic.
Absolutely. You have to know the difference between warm leads, somebody coming in from referrals, maybe somebody found you online, they've read you, as you mentioned, read your books, read your blogs, etc., from somebody that you reached out to cold in a cold DM or cold email, and now they're getting on a call. The context is very different. And that can actually lead to the success or failure of your outbound campaign, as you mentioned.
As we're doing these shows, we're here to help people change their lives. It's dominate every area of life and business. And you don't do that by having 20 things you're going to do tomorrow. Like New Year's resolutions don't work because they're delayed. They have, I'm going to cut out coffee and I'm going to cut out alcohol and I'm going to go run. I'm going to do all these things all at once. And a lot of times they fail. Yeah. But those who say, I'm going to start doing this one thing right now, and then they do that. And then next time they come on a show, they take one thing and then they keep taking one thing. Like that's what's going to be the big difference maker. And so for us, on this show, we always want people to think about what's the one thing that you got from this show, maybe 2 things that you can start executing on right now, today. And then as you execute on that, implement that system, come back to this episode, listen to it again and grab another thing or come to another one of our episodes and get another thing. But just make sure you walk away from this with what's the 1 or 2 things that I can use to execute.
Yes, absolutely. And we actually have a free resource on this to help you further dive into outbound. Maybe you are already running this channel and you aren't seeing success with it. Perhaps you've tried it in the past and it didn't work. We have a free resource that's going to give you more insight into how to get started with outbound. Just click the link in the show notes for that resource.
So if you got no value from this, if you are on this episode for some reason and you're like, this is the dumbest thing I've ever heard, I never want to see this guy and this girl again, do not rate this show, do not share this show, just, whatever. But if you did get value from this and maybe you know another entrepreneur, another marketing manager, another business owner that could benefit from something you heard on this show, share it with them. Don't just keep it to yourself, share it with them. And, if we were able to give you value in this show, do us a favor back and give us a rating on that. That's all we ask. So our mission is to help and impact the entrepreneur, who is the lifeblood of the economy. And you do that through client acquisition. And so this is a very, very powerful show that's going to help people get more clients, which is ultimately going to allow them to make more impact for their customers, for their family, their lives, and so on. So that's it. This is a Takeover with Tim and Cindy. Stay winning.